All right, welcome everyone. I'm Alan Austin. I'm with the Litecoin Foundation. I'm actually excited to be moderating my very first panel on perhaps one of the most important topics in crypto, accepting crypto in the payments industry.
Yeah, boy.
It is my privilege to introduce our three panel speakers, Eric Brown, Josh Finkelman, and Andrew Yang, all of whom have a great deal of experience in this space. Just a quick background. Eric is the CEO and founder of Alliant Payments, which processes a full suite of payment products, processing $2 billion annually. Eric's been on the payment technology space for over 20 years, is an advisor to many financial institutions on their payment programs, and Eric was recently appointed to serve on the Electronic Transactions Association Technology Committee to lead and educate on payments, best practices, and help invent the future of commerce. Josh is the co-founder and managing partner of BXE Capital, the first digital assets hedge fund in the state of Colorado. Prior to this, Josh spent many years working in the payments industry, including establishing e-commerce and retail payment processing platforms and building back-end support infrastructure. Josh holds an MBA in finance and accounting, and Josh is also a licensed CPA. Andrew Yang is the COO of Blockfuse. Blockfuse makes developing Bitcoin and Litecoin apps development easy. Andrew is also the partnership coordinator with the Litecoin Foundation. He also runs the Litecoin School of Crypto and is the author of Understanding Litecoin, the digital currency for payments. Guys, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it. Dang, Alan.
So,
Quite an intro.
and we will leave some time for questions at the end, if at all possible, so we can get through some of the topics. So I thought we would first focus on some things payment related that are happening today, and then we can talk more about what you guys see happening in the future. So we'll start with this. You know, when we think of cryptocurrency adoption, using crypto for payments plays a huge role. If I'm a merchant that's new to crypto, and say I've been doing business for many years using traditional payments, one of my first questions is going to be, why would I want to accept crypto over the traditional ways of payment? Without getting too technical or detailed, which is something that would likely overwhelm a new merchant to the crypto space, how would you address that question to someone?
So with merchants, there's a few things that they're gonna look for, and it's basically going to be speed and also security of a transaction, and then costs that are involved. So one of the first things that I would pitch to a merchant would be there's no chargebacks in crypto. The transaction cannot be reversed. So that's an issue for merchant side for sure. And then also there's speed. Right now I would say there's some, we're going to talk about scaling, of course. But I can move money from, LA to, Sacramento in 15 minutes in a Bitcoin transaction at a certain fee. I could do that same transaction from here to Singapore, same fee, same time. So if you're the type of merchant that's accepting an international transaction or B2B transactions, it starts making a lot of sense. And then also there's a different aspect to it, is catering to a different clientele, maybe a Gen Z type customer base that you have, that they're going to have digital wallets. So you're going to be looking at the future, and are you going to be one of the first adopters, or are you going to wait till everybody gets in there? And I think kind of what we've built, we've made it pretty easy and made have addressed some of the main three top concerns for a merchant when it comes to accepting a payment.
Yeah, and also from a user perspective, from a more ideological angle, it's all about sound money, right? It's like me taking control of my own financial sovereignty. When I use a bank, when I use credit cards, I'm basically asking for permission to use my own money, and I think that's stupid. But with crypto, it's my money. I have access to my own private keys. I get to choose where I spend it, when I spend it, and who I can pay, right? And so, to me, it's all about sound money. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, very good. As we know, new merchants, it's very easy to get overwhelmed with the technicals until they get a feel for it. So, with that being said, maybe just briefly talk about some of the current payment solutions available today, whether you have a brick and mortar business or you're an online retailer. Just kind of a brief overview. And let me real quickly: how many are merchants? How many out here are merchants right now, or are considering, or have online retail? Anything? Okay. Just trying to get a feel so we can address.
You should talk to Eric if you want to accept Litecoin or Bitcoin. Yeah.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks.
So what was the question again?
Just a really brief overview of some of the solutions available, whether you're have a brick and mortar business or you're an online retailer. We can get into more detail later, but
Right. Yeah. So I mean, for Alliant, we have options in e-commerce. We have API plugins where you can do a full integration, custom integration if you like. We do have plugins. So if you're using WooCommerce or WordPress, we have a plugin for that. We do have built out a full payment portal as well. So a merchant is used to using a back-end payment portal to initiate transactions to their customers. So what we did is we just basically built a portal that looks very similar to what they use every day in the credit card world, except it's for cryptocurrency. And particularly for us, we will move crypto on behalf of the merchant, and then we will liquidate crypto on behalf of the merchant. We guarantee dollar funds. So when they're actually seeing the transaction, the consumer, they're seeing it in US dollars. We will have it in Satoshis right below that. And then what we will do is we do have a bank that will push fiat currency out. So we truly have an end-to-end solution, and where a merchant can accept crypto without the volatility. And then also receive fiat currency, so then they can run their business, but they do have the ability of accepting crypto. So our idea was to be able to bridge the old with the new and let merchants warm up to the idea of cryptocurrency by doing a lot of the work in the back end for them.
very good. So one thing, as we all know, is that crypto price movements can happen just extremely fast. If we assume most merchants are converting the majority, if not all, of their crypto to fiat, which any of you can elaborate on, how do merchants protect against that volatility during that conversion process, I guess, is one part of the question. Another part would be, how long does that process take? Maybe talk about that and sort of what you're using as far as an exchange goes, regarding rates, things like that, of that nature. Whoever wants to take that question. We're going to get to some technology there for you, Justin.
Yeah. So as far as the volatility goes, when we see a coin coming in, a transaction's been initiated, a consumer has 15 minutes to complete that transaction. So it's not an open-ended invoice. So similar as if you're on Ticketmaster's site and you're grabbing a set of seats. You got a certain amount of time to finish the transaction. So the same thing with Alliant. So 15 minutes you have to finish the transaction. Once we see the coin coming in, we actually inventory crypto at our exchange. We do have an institutional exchange account where we can liquidate any type of cryptocurrency for any type of fiat currency. When we see it coming in, we'll immediately liquidate on the other end. So that helps us control the volatility. For us, we're just basically trading a coin for coin, and the faster we can liquidate, the better that we can control the volatility on that end.
Are you guaranteeing a certain conversion rate? I mean, in other words, if something happens very quickly during that process.
Yeah, we're guaranteeing funds. So if the invoice is $500, the merchant's going to receive $500 minus their fees. A little bit about fees. I know you touched on it for a minute. We are below 1%. And we do offer a free cryptocurrency account as well. We will convert cryptocurrency free of charge. So we have that option as well. They do have to open a merchant account with us. But charitable organizations do not. We will do it free of charge. But yeah, we basically are guaranteeing those funds.
So that means you're taking on the risk to some
Absolutely,
extent.
yeah, we're taking on the risk, and that's part of the fees that we do charge, is the volatility factor, us doing the conversion, liquidating, so on and so forth.
Okay, and on the subject of fees, I mean, how would you compare those fees to traditional payment methods, and meaning the fees that the merchant would actually pay, versus credit cards?
Josh can answer this one because he knows the fees too.
Because obviously this is a selling point for merchants.
So, depending on where you're at, if you're a retail business, your effective rate in credit card processing is probably 2%, somewhere in that, that's if you're a dry cleaner or a restaurant or something along those lines. If you're an e-commerce business, your effective rate is probably 3 to 3.5%. If you're in the high-risk industry, you could easily be up into 7-8% and also have reserves. So cryptocurrency, aligning at 1% or 1.5% or even less than that, it's very, very cost effective for a merchant, and they're definitely always looking at cutting. It's the number one thing in our industry are the fees. I mean, so it's a big selling point being able to go in and cut fees for a merchant.
And, I wanted to just back up real quick. We did talk about the conversion process, and with Andrew, because you're so involved in Lightning Network, I'm curious about how Lightning could be involved in the payment process. Would that make things even faster? And how do you sort of handle the conversion rate to fiat if you're off chain, say, using the Lightning Network? Any ideas on those things?
Yeah, the process would look actually very similar to what Eric just described. With the Lightning Network, it would just make payment finality instant, right? With Litecoin or Bitcoin, you've got to wait maybe one confirmation in order for you to have good amount of trust that it's not going to disappear or get reorged out or whatever. With the Lightning Network, you have no risk of any of that. It's just you pay and you go. So yeah, that's how Lightning Network could just revolutionize, I think, brick and mortar payments or even online payments. Yeah.
But for somebody that's still converting, wants to at least convert some of that to fiat, that can all happen off chain. And
yeah,
so
yeah,
forth.
because you would basically receive Lightning Network as a merchant, and then like what Eric said is you would have Bitcoin in an exchange somewhere, and then you would just sell the equivalent into US dollars, and then you would eventually route that US dollars to the merchant whenever they call for it. So, yeah.
Pretty interesting stuff. And then also from not an investment standpoint, but from a processing standpoint, are there any particular cryptocurrencies that offer advantages, from a conversion standpoint and so forth? And do you have any control if you're a merchant and you want to use particular cryptocurrencies? Who sort of directs what options you have?
Yeah, so for us, it's not any different than a card brand. If somebody doesn't want to accept American Express, we don't sign them up with American Express. So coin options are basically the same thing. With Align, it's a little bit different because when we do convert to fiat and we actually push that payment, we're subject to federally regulated AML laws. So we do have to risk monitor transactions. For us, that allows us to do Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, Litecoin, and Ripple right now. What coin do we really feel like? To me, Bitcoin is it's stored value. It's like gold. You're not going to necessarily might not use it in everyday type environment and payments. Litecoin to me is like a Visa check card. I mean, it's very utility. It's great for everyday use. It's extremely fast. The fees are great. I think the other day we moved Litecoin from Florida over to London. It was 45 seconds. We moved 500 Litecoin. I mean, it was extremely fast. The fees were great. So on the payment side of things, that's what we want to see. We want to see speed and low fees. That's the main thing. So Litecoin's a big advantage for us in the payment space.
And do you find like if you are, obviously the idea is at some point vendors will convert less. They'll be able to use because they'll be able to then use that crypto for other services and for supplies they might need for their business and so forth. But until that process, I suppose to some extent, as a merchant, you don't really care as long as you're getting the rate and the conversion and everything else. You just want to have the options available to whatever that customer might have in their wallet or want to use. I mean, some of that demand might come from a customer.
Right. I mean, typically a merchant or even us as consumers, do you really care how the back end of a transaction works? You really don't. That's our job. That's what we do. So the idea is just to secure funds and move them quickly and cost effectively.
Josh, this question's for you. So kind of moving forward and looking at as we move forward into the future, even as I think most of us know, even from within the crypto space, we see a variety of attitudes towards crypto, towards banking, towards traditional banking, the way we're doing things now. Anywhere from people understanding the way we're doing things to screw the banks, we don't need them, we don't need fiat currency. I guess my question is, how important are banks and even fiat currency for that matter, at least certainly for the foreseeable future, in order for us to get from where we are today to more widespread adoption? Because I think a lot of people might not understand the role that we still need with banks and things like that.
Yeah. So I think that it's crypto in order to have mass adoption, right? I think you need to blend that with the established order, so banking and financial services and what have you. So I think it's a necessary ingredient for mass adoption and scale, right? And I think that we're going to see that transition over the next decade, right? Merging the two in some ways, and some solutions will be completely decentralized, and they'll be used for services that can take advantage of that, and others maybe will be pseudo, right, decentralized or private blockchains or what have you, and they'll have a certain purpose. So I think you'll have a blend of a lot of different things. But I think in order for legitimization of the asset class and the technology and global scale, I think you're going to have to, work with the established institutions like banks.
You foresee that for at least, quite a bit of time.
I think so. I mean, we're already starting to see Wall Street move into this space, right? We're seeing, Bakkt is going to launch. Intercontinental Exchange is the largest exchange in the world. They own, the New York Stock Exchange. So they're going to come out with a digital asset exchange. Fidelity, one of the largest kind of traditional custody solutions, they just came into the space. So you're seeing that methodical march by Wall Street into the space to support that narrative. And I think that's going to continue to accelerate.
Yeah. Which also, when you see these moves, it does feel like maybe it's giving some people more confidence themselves of getting in the space, only because it sort of validates, well, if these companies are doing it, who are maybe against crypto initially, maybe it's okay.
I think you're seeing that narrative, come about more and more, right? As the big institutions start to come in, the Bakks of the world, Fidelity and what have you. I think that provides legitimacy for a lot of people, and they're like, okay, I can trust that institution, and if they're getting into this space, this must be a legitimate space. So I think it's really important.
For sure. And then as far as like trends in technology as a payment, maybe this question for Eric, but as a payment company, what types of trends in technology are you seeing, and what are you leveraging like for your clients right now? I mean, you've been doing traditional, you've offered traditional payment solutions for many, many years, and obviously you're seeing things transition slowly but surely.
I would say right now we're actually looking at transitioning some of our traditional payments into blockchain environment and digital wallet. We're seeing some technology that we found pretty interesting, where it wasn't so much a cryptocurrency, but traditional payments moving in that way, and we found that to be pretty interesting because we're trying to figure out how do we blend the two? How do you like Josh says, it's a blend. You've got to be able to work with the current establishment and financial institutions, but here you have a great opportunity with an emerging market and technology, and you want the two to work together and be cohesive. And then we kind of came up with the idea that we're going to be exploring the option of moving our traditional payment portfolio into more of a blockchain and digital wallet environment, where then crypto and credit cards can work within the same environment.
A lot of some of the changes you make come from things your customers are maybe asking for and so forth.
Yeah, we actually have customers, the technology moving so fast, but the customers are moving equally as fast. So we definitely have to keep up with it. We are subject to a lot of underwriting and what banks will do. So, with that being said, it can make it a bit of a challenge to blend the two. You might be able to get a cryptocurrency account for one merchant, but you can't get a credit card account for them, and we really need to get it to where you can really get them both.
Got it. And then a question for any of you. What do you guys see as far as the future of payments, as far as security and technology, say in the next 5, maybe even 10 years from now?
Can I answer this? Yeah. So I want to hear what you guys think. But
yeah, I'd actually be curious to all of your takes on this.
I think the future, you can just look to China, okay? And China, in the United States, mobile payments in the United States is about $200 billion a year here, okay? In China, it's over $5 trillion. And most of China, they've got a population base of about 1.4 billion. They don't use credit cards, and they don't use really cash. They use apps. So they go through and they leverage, WeChat or Alipay to pay for everything, and all the merchants accept those. So those are in-app payments, right? Very efficient. Broad acceptance, what have you, cheap, efficient, as Eric said. I think that's where we're headed. I think that's where the whole world is headed, ultimately, is that you'll see these massive apps like Facebook is coming out with a stable token, right? Well, between Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, you've got about 2 billion users on that platform. So they're following the WeChat, the Alipay concept, and where they're going to offer a stable token that you can use to pay for things, and they're going to build that and continue to add on more and more features and more things that you can pay for, to where the user never leaves that ecosystem. And so I think that's what we're going to have, is we're going to have these massive apps that are going to be widely accepted and massive user base, like Telegram or Keek or JP Morgan token or Facebook token, right? And so I think that is going to be a really big narrative in the future.
Yeah, and like along
curious.
those lines, like if you look at cryptocurrency mobile wallets right now, it's actually very similar to what they have, right? It's in-app payments that you send like peer to peer, right? And so that's kind of cool that that they're sort of like converging together these two worlds. I think from the cryptocurrency side, the UI can be a lot better. And then one final hurdle that will be necessary, I think, is just how can users securely store their private keys in their wallets in a way where it's safe. And so not only is it just in-app purchases, but figuring out a way where instead of spending like 10 minutes like writing down your seed keys somehow when you start to initialize your wallet, like slowing down or increasing that process faster, but still doing it in a face that's in a way that's like safe. So that's like I think one of the biggest hurdles for cryptocurrency wallets, I think, right now.
Yeah, I agree, and making it as easy as possible.
I would definitely agree with you too. I would say probably for the future is figuring out the reoccurring model. Reoccurring with crypto. It's got to happen. There's a big reoccurring market. It's a big part of our portfolio. People continue to put auto payments in there. And so I think, future-wise is figuring out how to do a reoccurring payment and do it in a secure environment. And I think it's going to be important for adoption to happen, is bringing that particular service.
But banks will still be involved, at least for a while, right? So
Yeah,
it is interesting how you're talking about bringing these payment opportunities into social apps, things that people are already using. Just the other day at the meetup, somebody showing me how they were able to trade like on Binance with their Telegram app, which I had never seen. So those
absolutely.
are the same types of things that are
And
pretty
think
cool.
about Twitter, right? I mean, so Jack Dorsey owns Twitter. He owns Square,
right.
One of the largest aggregators in the United States. So they already have a massive user base. So they just roll out that product, and boom, you've got a user base of hundreds of millions, if not billions, of people. Yeah, that's it. Done. So that's how I think we're going to see kind of mass adoption take place.
And Cash App enables Bitcoin buying right now. So like even for me, like if I can just buy $1 a day of Bitcoin, and so I think it's already there. It's already integrated. So download Cash App. Cash App, reach out to me. But yeah, get Cash App.
That's kind of my competitor, by the way. But
go see Eric Alliant Payments for integrating crypto payments.
Yeah, and I think. And I guess the question too is though, getting people to use their crypto to pay with it, right? I mean, I'd just give an example at the Litecoin booth yesterday. Somebody purchased a hat. They had Litecoin to buy it with. They could have easily scanned a QR code and paid, but they preferred to pay cash. They didn't want to spend their Litecoin. So these are obviously things that might take some time.
In China, right, with WePay and Alipay, or WeChat and Alipay, what they did is they're really brilliant. They keep adding more and more services to those applications where the user never leaves that ecosystem, right? I mean, they can pay for anything in China using those two apps. And then B, they just keep adding more and more things that you can leverage, that in-app payment mechanism for. And so I could totally see Facebook doing that where it's like, wow, they have this kind of, store value token, this Facebook token that is just, you can use it to pay for so many different things and services and offerings. And they just keep loading that up. And eventually people just stay in it. They never leave it, right?
Yeah, it'd be great. I mean, if you have systems where also the minute you pay with your crypto, it repurchases X amount. That way you're putting out in the system at the same time if you're concerned about spending it, those would be helpful.
And then you aren't going to have, right now you have people onboarding into crypto and out, right? You have these bridges, digitizing and then getting back out into fiat. Well, at some point, when you have robust ecosystems like that, you'll never get out of crypto, you'll stay. You'll come in, and it'll be so universally accepted that you'll never debunk back into fiat, and that'll be the ultimate kind of evolution of the space.
Because if you receive money, crypto, you'll be able to now buy everything else you need with it and so forth.
Move it back into dollars.
Correct.
It would just
Correct.
be it'd be just the evolution of money. I mean, it's evolved in the past. It would just evolve completely into crypto.
So, like, from an alternative perspective, though, like, you might ask, well, why not just use the yen in WeChat, and, like, why use crypto, right? Well, one of the reasons would be because Alipay, WeChat, like, the reason why they exist is because the Chinese government has access to the centralized servers, and they can request user information whenever they want, right? But with blockchain, even though it may be tied to your user identity or whatever, you can send it outside of the wallet, right? And then you can there are ways to obfuscate your identity and obfuscate your funds and make payments on wallets outside of Alipay or whatever, right? And so it offers you more security, more privacy, and yeah.
And I suppose if I'm a merchant and I am saving fees by accepting crypto, I can obviously pass some of those fees on in terms of savings to the consumer, in which turn they would help them be more encouraged to pay with crypto at the same time. So. But of course, that's at the discretion of merchants and so forth. But it might be something I'm sure you talk to consumers about and so forth. So.
For us, it's right now one of the big parts are developing a rewards program, on the consumer end. So if you want merchants will adopt crypto if consumers want to use it. So it's really up to us as consumers what we want to pay with. And
Sure.
rewards program would be something that is important, is figuring out a good rewards program back for a consumer using crypto.
So how long then before you guys see a complete adoption of cryptocurrency, like completely eliminating fiat paper and
2
coins?
weeks.
I like your optimism.
I think it'll be a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Wall Street's moving really slowly. I think that the regulatory landscape is moving very slowly, and so although I think. Like when we look at the adoption of the internet, right? That full adoption cycle took 20 years, maybe, or 25 years plus, right? I think it'll happen faster than that because with the internet, there was a lot of infrastructure that had to be laid down, right? Put up satellites, create the cell phones, the fiber optic cables in the ground. There's a lot of hardware and infrastructure. But with blockchain technology, it's really just software. So you can iterate that much faster. So I do think it'll be faster than the internet. And it'll come in wave of adoptions, right? I kind of, within the fund, I have a 4-year kind of cycle that we're on. Kind of we're in the accumulation cycle, right? And then you have building up to a rally cycle and then a correction cycle. But each of these cycles get bigger. The user base gets bigger and bigger exponentially. So I just think we have a couple more of those cycles to go, and we'll be pushing global adoption.
So, Josh.
So it's not 2 weeks, is what you're saying. You don't
No,
agree
but
with Andy.
3 weeks.
Three
It's
weeks.
3 weeks. 3
Okay.
weeks.
But Josh, so when's the bull coming?
So I think
That's what we all want to know.
That's what we want to know.
So I have no clue, but
Lies.
but all the research and just my gut tells me 2021.
But look, for some
that's
companies
a solid you actually put respect. Come here. He actually made a prediction. That's cool.
It's good. I mean, things happen. Time moves fast. So, but when we look at some of these countries, like we may not, and I think that it's a different attitude, right? A lot of people don't want to spend crypto yet today. They want to just store it as value, hopefully for the future. Or other countries, they need using it as a lot more important. And so
Venezuela.
Yeah. So when we're talking about the timeline, I guess it's fair to say is that based on does that start with some of these countries that need to find an alternate use of payments.
Absolutely.
And move from
Venezuela,
that way.
due to the kind of fiscal monetary policy and the inflation has gone parabolic in that country. So people have lost their wealth really quickly. And they're starting to realize that Bitcoin is a salvation for them, right? That's a way to, it's a store of value. It's a way to store their wealth or what have you. So there's been massive adoption within like local Bitcoins within Venezuela and some of these regions that are riddled with, inflation.
Yeah, for sure.
hyperinflation. We're in the United States, so we don't, right? We look at this as a speculative asset class to make money with. Whereas in some of these foreign, cultures where you have hyperinflation, they look at it as a lifeline.
And Eric, are you, as far as where you can service, which countries are you able to service? Countries where maybe it is more urgent, where they accept crypto.
So, our model is to convert to, a fiat currency. So if you're in a country where the financial system is broken down, then the odds are we're going to have a tough time there with our model, But I do believe in the sense of adoption, it's, it starts where there's need. And that would be, countries that are having, some financial issues, infrastructure. And then for us in the payment space, it's the high risk accounts. It's the guys who have difficulties in the credit card world. So there's a need there. There's there's more of a motivation there for them to go out and, adopt cryptocurrency and learn how to use it because they've struggled for years with credit cards and banks. And from there, it trickles down. Once you get that, it'll trickle down into e-commerce, different high risk markets. We were talking to the NFL right now quite a bit, as you know. That's something that we're looking at, and the entertainment market is big for us. But those are the markets that we'll go after first.
You know what drives adoption the most? Greed.
What's that?
Greed.
Oh, I thought you said weed.
Greed.
Greed. Okay.
I think that drives me pretty well,
Greed.
too.
Greed. Honestly,
Okay, well, yeah.
that's like
Whatever works.
for people speculation, and you have these massive adoption cycles that are speculators. They come in, they see Bitcoin go parabolic, and they jump in, and that gets a new user base in the ecosystem. So
FOMO.
that literally is like the biggest driver in adoption.
Sure.
Well,
And-
actually-
and it starts with just getting involved, whether you spend it or not.
Yeah, actually, Bitcoin just recently went on a price pump, right, over like maybe 2 weeks ago, and like I personally believe it was really initiated by the April Fool's joke. Like there was somebody published, the SEC approved Bitcoin ETF, right, and then it was on April 1st. If you look at Google Trends, the Bitcoin interest spiked at to 100%. And then if you looked at the two recent trends, it said, why is Bitcoin pumping? And then, SEC approves ETF, right? So, and those, they feed each other, those two keywords, right? But if you look at the price rise, it only kicked off in Asia. So, my hunch is that people in a different part of the world didn't understand that it was April Fool's, and they were just ready to, kind of buy in, right? And so it's kind of strange, but I think it's kind of weird. But I think, one positive that we can take out of that whole experience is that people are just waiting at the sidelines to get in. That's the type of money that they're itching to buy Bitcoin. They need that one signal to say, let's get in right now.
Sometimes it's just all you need is a kickstart, and it certainly was a reminder of how quick things can move. I think everybody was sort of half asleep and woke up to how fast things can move when they do. Yeah, for sure.
It happens fast.
Well, I'm going to go back real quick to Eric. You mentioned your model is right now is where merchants are converting, but obviously, the goal is hopefully that they convert. They start keeping some of their crypto. They convert less and less, and ultimately, hopefully, if they keep everything in cryptocurrency. Are you able to adapt? Your model right now is the way it is because your goal is initially just getting people involved, and are you able to adapt to, if I'm a merchant and I want to keep half of the cryptocurrency I receive, I can do that through your system. Or whatever it is. Are those options for me?
Yeah, you can. We could definitely do it. We would probably want a merchant to show us that they have invested or know what they're doing, and just be very, very clear about the volatility aspect of it. Most of these merchants need to get paid to. It's operating capital for them. So, but what we hope to see happen is small percentages. Where we have the option of they're going to hold 10%, and maybe we even create a rewards program around that. Where them holding some of the crypto, they get a rewards maybe on the investment side back to them. However it may be, but. Basically that's just what's going to happen is we're going to keep converting to fiat currency, and then we're going to see small percentages being held. They get comfortable with it. The knowledge base, they've learned more. They've gone through maybe a rally cycle. They've made some money. Now they want to hold a little bit more. For us, it's just really being very transparent and disclosing to them about what can happen currently if they do hold it, and making sure that that they do understand that. So as of right now, it's a way for us to bring a merchant on. As my friend in Germany says, to wash your hands without getting your hands wet. And that's really what we're doing for merchants right now. Build up as many merchants as we can, and as they get more comfortable with it, allowing them to hold more and more based on them getting comfortable and educating themselves on how it works.
And you mentioned rewards programs. You're offering that, you said, to
we don't have
merchants, or
anything
at the
as of
moment, or-
right now. There's it's just the ecosystem's kind of scattered with a lot of different wallets and so on and so forth. But a pretty firm believer that we need to have a good rewards program to get consumers to really use it, especially on an everyday basis. That's where rewards become important, or the everyday purchases. Rewards is pretty high on our list to figure out and work through.
Well, I guess if you're saving money over other ways, then there's some reward, I guess, to some extent there.
Saving money and getting a reward.
Sure. Who doesn't like that? And I know, Eric, you're working on some pretty amazing things. I don't know how much you can talk about or not, but can you fill us in on anything or any you might be working with, or companies any big announcements coming up?
Yeah, we signed 2 major processors to our white label option for our crypto platform. One being about $12 billion a year in credit cards, another one being about $8 billion a year. These are non-financial institution, by the way, companies like Alliant. Part of our program is we wholesale out the back end, where we risk monitor and also liquidate and then push funds. And so we can basically bring in a turnkey solution for another payment company. That's how we're getting out, adoption and out to more merchants. I'll leave their names out. It is a white label service, so they completely brand it. We've had pretty extensive talks with the NFL. I'll leave the teams out for right now, but there's a couple teams for months, actually, and we're getting pretty close to hopefully getting a deal done there. A couple things have fallen. Yeah, a couple things have fallen our way for that. And some auto groups, some of the guys through Litecoin Foundation have been, bringing in the auto group deals.
Right.
So,
yeah. Maybe we can talk about that. Which you did recently.
Yeah. 30 locations. Porsche, Maserati, Subaru, Volvo had come through the Litecoin Foundation. Our deal with the Litecoin Foundation, where we did the processing, but members of the Litecoin Foundation brought those deals in. We actually pushed that to a writer that we know at Forbes, and Forbes picked up the article, wrote an article about it. So we continue to drive a lot of our successes through Litecoin Foundation and at Alliant into social media and media, and created those relationships. And look, getting out on Forbes is what's better. It's really helps awareness. So, but just and then of course some tech things that we're working on. But yeah, we do have some pretty good sized deals that we're working on right now. Some large logistic companies. And it's been great. It's been a great platform for us, and I think you guys will like some of the announcements that we have coming up, especially if we get crypto in the NFL. I mean, that's huge. That's a big awareness.
Yeah, one of them was a Porsche dealership or something, right?
Yeah. That was Bobmore Auto Group. Porsche, Maserati, Ferrari, I think too.
Ferrari,
actually. Yeah.
And they're taking crypto now?
Yeah, Oklahoma City. Yeah, the Oklahoma's I think largest auto group. Yeah.
So if you're in the East
405.
Coast and you want a Porsche or a Ferrari, pay with Litecoin.
And if you want to make money to get a Porsche or Ferrari, call Josh.
Hey.
And Josh, I know you're a CPA, and I don't want to get too much off track, but just maybe briefly explain, if you do use your crypto to buy that Porsche or Ferrari, how would that work?
You'd have to track your basis when you originally acquired your crypto, and then when you went to convert that, right, to buy I'm partial to Ferraris. When you go to buy your Ferrari, right, at the price point, if it had gone up, the difference between the two, you'd have to basically book as income, capital gains, short term or long term, on your tax return.
So
Josh, I'm partial to Priuses, so just FYI.
Did you say Prius?
Yeah, Priuses, man. Priuses. Save the planet.
I've got like the opposite of a Prius. I'm a
You?
Silverado.
Oh, I bet you just like dump gas down your and just rev it and just go crazy. Yeah, why not? YOLO.
And do you think, working on Lightning stuff, I mean, do you feel that's going to play a bigger role with payments, with as we move forward? I mean, we're building Lightning Network solutions as a layer on top of the blockchain. Obviously, most merchants are still converting their crypto, but that will hopefully change. Kind of like, will Lightning be there to sort of make it that much easier and quicker from a payment standpoint? I mean,
You
so
know,
maybe-
one of the use cases that I feel that is really intriguing for Lightning Network is micropayments, right? And so I actually don't
Right.
think I don't even think it'll be in direct competition to just like fiat sweeping. So, like, let's say I offer like a game where every step it costs like 1 Latoshi or 1 Satoshi. That's like 1/100th of a Bitcoin or 1/100th of a Litecoin. And so like, and those like add up and those accumulate over like X amount of time, right? But I'm not going to liquidate 1 Latoshi. I'm not going to liquidate 1 Satoshi, right? That doesn't make sense. But I'm just going to hold it. But the idea is just like over X amount of time, I'm just accumulating all these microtransactions. And so eventually it'll reach, I don't know, like 0.001 Bitcoin. Then I'd go to like sell it on Coinbase, or I'd go to Eric and be like, all right, now it's time for me to sweep, you know? So I think that's one of the new revenue models that the Lightning Network could enable.
It's your digital coin jar.
Exactly. So when people say that like Bitcoin can be like the native currency of their internet, like I think it's going to be through the Lightning Network.
very interesting. And you can see that
Mind blown?
being
I don't know.
integrated ultimately.
I
in
hope.
what some of the things you're doing.
To be able to scale, what Lightning accomplishes is speed, and that has to be there, for it to work in a merchant environment. It's got to be credit card speed. I absolutely pretty firm believer that Lightning is laying the groundwork for it. I think it's going to take a little bit of time. It's going to take a major retailer getting on with it. Once you get one major retailer on, it's a competition thing, right? Then they all have to do it. It's just like, why are we doing the NFL? We know if we land one team, the rest of them have to follow. So I think it'd be the same thing with Lightning when it comes to a retail point of sale environment, and they address that speed and scalability issue.
And then I think we talked a while back about confirmations. Right now, if nobody's going to probably buy a hot dog with crypto, right? If you have to wait for it to confirm on the blockchain, but I mean, those are things that will be, with tools and solutions being built, you won't have to wait. I mean, at some point there'll be.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks. It sucks for brick and mortar payments, right? Confirmations, and so that's what the Lightning Network it'll solve that. Like it's okay for online because a lot of people just sit on the computer. They'll watch like a YouTube clip and they'll wait the confirmation times, like whatever. But if you need to get in and out of a grocery store, you need instant payment finality.
Right. So I just wanted to leave a little time if anybody has any questions. So maybe we leave some time for anybody out there. Yes. Yeah, the question was how they feel about Bitcoin Cash and Ripple as far as it applies to payment software.
I think Ripple is basically to compete and try to replace the SWIFT network. So it's really, I think, designed for international payments, maybe money in an international environment. We have the ability of processing Ripple. We haven't activated it, tell you the truth. Bitcoin Cash, we have the ability as well. To me, the coins are, it's just like your credit card, right? I mean, one time you're picking out your Visa for whatever reason, the other time at American Express, the other time at MasterCard. So you just really leave it up to the consumer. It's it's a consumer's job to decide what they want to pay with, and we'll continue to let them decide. So we'll give them the options. Thank you.
Yeah. On that note, with Bitcoin Cash, it's network hash rate security is like terrible. It's terrible. Like you take 1% of Bitcoin's mining, and then you can just completely ruin Bitcoin Cash's network. So it does not make sense to me why you would want to accept it for payments, because then if you receive it, maybe like 20, 30 minutes later, you think it's secure, and it's not. Your transaction's completely gone because somebody took 1% of Bitcoin's hash rate, ruined Bitcoin's Cash's network, and now like your merchant is screwed, or I don't know. Yeah, so I don't know. It just doesn't make sense.
Thank you.
But on that note as well, who ultimately decides? I mean, Eric, you're not. It's there's various solutions out there, right? And depending on the solution, there's certain cryptocurrencies available. Somebody makes that decision. It's not always you, right? Correct?
Yeah, for us, it's our risk monitoring tool. So we can't accept any coins on behalf of a merchant unless it's a risk monitor, because otherwise we would be subject to big fines from federal regulators. We would get shut down. So whatever's available on our risk tool at that moment, that's what we're able to do. And so sometimes when you see stuff in exchange, things you can buy, but you can only see others. Those are the reasons why. There's risk in the background running And we have to monitor that, and we're really in charge of it. And it's no joke. You don't want a federal regulator showing up at your door and you facilitated a money laundering transaction. It's going to be a pretty bad day for you.
And I want to start out. I want to start a company for clothing, and I wanted to know the name of your software because it would help us clothing brand to do online transactions for accepting crypto.
So
correct?
it's alliantpayments.com. And all traditional payment products, ACH, and then obviously crypto.
But go to www.alliantpayments.com and he'll help you integrate.
So whether you're a small shop or a large brick and mortar, you have solutions available.
Small business, medium. We have enterprise level software companies we can integrate with, our ISV relationships. There's not really anything we can't do. A lot of e-commerce, gaming, travel, and crypto is free of charge. So, which is pretty good price.
Yes.
Hi.
Cesar.
I'm really curious about with some of these payment processing. Do you find yourselves proactively seeking regulation to money transmitter licensure and so forth?
Yeah, so there's when you're pushing fiat currency, your two options are a money service license in every state, which is a daunting task to say the least. It's extremely difficult. Your other option is to work with, as Josh pointed out, is the current financial infrastructure. We have a bank on the back end of our platform, and that bank pushes those payments for us. I can't give you their name, but they're a domestic bank. They're 100 years old, publicly traded, involved in crypto. The reason why they were involved in it was, through a payments company that's been around for 15 years and knows the compliance issues and so on and so forth. It took us 6 months to get them to agree to it. All kinds of insurance policies, all kinds of submissions of our policies. So it's a very unique situation to have a bank who's actually pushing the payments for you. So once the bank receives the funds and pushes the payments, they have the licenses. Then you're doing it in a proper compliant fashion.
Thank you.
Any other questions? What percent? In the meantime, maybe what percent of the customers right now are you seeing that are knocking on your door or starting to accept crypto? I mean, obviously, for many years, the crypto didn't exist. When you were in the business, I expect, right? We hadn't even heard of what Bitcoin. Bitcoin wasn't available yet.
We tell you the truth, we're not really getting them knocking on our door. What we're looking for is the right merchant fit, the merchant that gets it, a forward-thinking merchant. There's a lot of outside benefits to cryptocurrency. The people that we've met, conferences, social media, marketing, advertising, those are all selling features to a merchant. But we're not looking to twist anybody's arm to accepting it. You either get it or you don't. If you do, we're here to sign you up. If not, we'll see you next year when you're ready.
But if I'm a merchant and I'm accept, what do I have to lose? I guess is my question. It's just one more option, and we're starting to see more and more people that are walking into stores saying, "Do you accept whatever it is, Bitcoin, Litecoin, cryptocurrency?" And people will actually go out of their way sometimes who really believe to go with merchants that accept. So I guess, is there any downside to offering another solution to payments? You're still accepting traditional payments. Now you have another route to go.
So for payments, it's always options. Let the consumers decide. Let the merchants kind of push what they want. The reason why we launched it for free is, we had the abilities to. If they brought on a merchant account, we really wanted to make it so. How could you say no? It's not costing you anything. There's no chargeback. The fees are lower. Because really, if you gave them, one reason for not accepting it, they won't. But if we really took out all the reasons, the last reasons would be cost. So when you make it free, and then the idea, that model is just build as many merchants as you can on that free platform. Sometimes you're making money on one product, but you lose money on another. And, it's something that we decided to do. We wanted to lose money on this to just let the customers and merchants get exposed to it.
And you can easily add that to integrate that into, as an add-on.
Very easy, not any different than a credit card integration. Very similar, just API integration, correct.
Curious about the adoption from a consumer perspective. Are you seeing anything interesting in terms of the geography? Because when I think about when I travel in Europe, I see Bitcoin accepted a lot more in taxi cabs and so forth, and not so much here in the States. So I was curious
good question.
Yeah. So there's a lot of, I think, where a lot of this resonated is in the East, right? China, Japan, Singapore, Korea, really, really big. And I think that has kind of started to move west, right, into Europe. So I think that there, in the United States, I had mentioned that I think a lot of people are in crypto from a speculation standpoint, right? They want to make money and it's a less of a utilization standpoint. Whereas I think in these other regions of the world, I think they're starting to, use it more as a payment mechanism, right? But I think, over time, as the technology iterates and gets better, I think you're going to start to see more and more acceptance here in the United States, and Eric will help drive that.
You foresee things like also happening exponentially at some point. I think once,
Oh yeah. I mean, well, when you look at the growth curve of the internet, it's kind of like
exactly.
and I think if you expand out the time horizon, right, into a longer time horizon, kind of the adoption grows in a series of micro bubbles, but over a longer time horizon is going to be really steep. I think the next wave of adoption will be the biggest one yet because it'll include institutions, right? And all the other adoption cycles, kind of the big rally cycles, were just retail based. And I think that narrative is going to continue to accelerate.
Awesome. Any other questions? Anybody? Yes.
You said earlier that your friend did a Raspberry Pi Lightning Network node on that. I was wondering if you could give me his Twitter or his YouTube channel where I could learn. Because you said he shows you how to do that, or
I can help you. I can help you set it up. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You can help me.
Yeah, I'll send you the link. Yeah.
Oh, awesome! Thank you so much.
it's like
And do you guys?
Mr.
And then you can use it to buy something with, correct?
Yeah.
Because we're on the. Okay, just want to make sure.
And I was wondering, do you guys? I know Andrew's active on Twitter. Are you guys active on Twitter or social media?
I'm not near as active as the E over here, but yeah, I'm on Twitter as well, and also Alliant Payments as well. So it's Alliant Payments.
Great.
And mine's Big E the Word.
Okay.
So yeah, but I'm there too. I'm under him. You'll find me there.
Great. Awesome.
But under his favorites.
We have about a minute left. 2 minutes left.
I just wanted to say, Andrew Yang, I'm really excited you're running for president, and
No.
you have my vote.
Yeah,
I think
Yang
it's
Gang.
great that someone's running with blockchain
I follow you on
enthusiasm.
Twitter there too.
No, seriously, vote for me. If you want UBI,
Yeah, it's a real privilege
no,
to have
seriously,
you up here on stage.
Yang Gang, hashtag, look it up. No, what I love about that is just completely increases my privacy because the more Andrew Yang gets more popular, the further down like my information goes down the search engine. So
That's
I
fair.
love it. It's like amazing. So I pamp him like so hard. It's like more, please.
So are you guys? I think we need. Yes, we have just a minute left.
Yeah, I just want to get your guys' perspective on whether I know. Well, from a novice's perspective, me being the novice, I see this as a amazing thing because it's a very grassroots kind of decentralized thing. But from Wall Street's perspective, is this a good thing? The fact that you have cryptocurrencies that are no longer controlled by government institutions, is that something that the private sector, Wall Street, is excited about? That you won't have business fluctuations due to personal decisions a lot of times?
Yeah, so Wall Street is starting to build out a big infrastructure around supporting a new asset class, right? So they look at it from a monetary aspect, right? Profitability, and so I think they're really a large part of Wall Street has really kind of grasped the concept that this is a new asset class. And you're starting to see large companies like ICE, Intercontinental Exchange, which owns the New York Stock Exchange. They're going to launch Bakkt and Fidelity and whatever. So I think it's going to be a massive asset class, and it's going to become institutionalized. And Wall Street's going to, come in and they, know how to extract profitability off of big technology like this. So we're seeing that take place, and I think it's going to, that's going to happen around the world. It's going to be a globalized asset class, right? And how I look at blockchain technology and why I think it's going to be pervasive is it removes rent seekers, right? Removes all the intermediaries, and that's applicable to really so many different businesses. So it's just the early days.
Awesome. Well, everyone, thank you very much for coming. Really appreciate it. Thank you guys
Thanks,
for being
guys.
here.